our Tremolo series.
In this series, we're going to share with you tremolo pedals by some of our favorite manufacturers.
Thanks for joining us. Today we're taking a look at a tremolo, but it is not a tremolo-specific pedal. It is a tremolo that is embodied and placed inside of the MAKO Series M1 High-Fidelity Modulation Machine from Walrus Audio. But before I make the beard do all the heavy lifting and break it down, I want to ask you if you consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that you know what we're up to. The more you interact with us, the more it helps us interact with wonderful companies like Walrus, who's been really cool to us.
Right. And been knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, when they moved to this form factor,
right.
The other stuff was great, don't get me wrong, but this is just a whole nother level.
And we've looked at the delay, the D1 delay, we've looked at the R1 reverb, and now the M1 modulation, which we're super, super excited about this pedal. We already have a video out. In that video, we dive into some of the, like how to do presets, dive into what all the knobs and switches do, dive into the lo-fi settings, which we might not get into much in this video. So if you're interested in some of this, like how do you add record noise and how do you add like a
tape warble or
an age sound, go check that video out. What we're focused on specifically, like Pat said, is the tremolos. And what's really cool about this, it has 3 different tremolos. So this is like, we're looking at this pedal almost like it's just a tremolo pedal.
Right.
And we're going to break that down. So we have 3, and I think we're going to jump right into it. So before I do that, you want to give them a reference tone?
Yep. The Revolta Mondado into the Tyler and the Fender, because we are running in stereo. Why? Because we can. And we don't get to do it in our real lives.
Tyler probably in your right ear.
Okay.
Fender in your left ear.
Right. And so I have all pickups on, as I like to say, because I can.
All right.
Sounds so good.
Into it. Yep. So we're going to be looking a lot at these 2 switches in the top row of those. If we hold down this button and play with those switches, we start getting into those lo-fi parameters. You'll notice up here the lo-fi knob is turned all the way down, so any lo-fi stuff that's on
is not.
So first one we're going to look at is the type. And there's 3 different types of tremolos. There's your just normal amplitude tremolo, which would be very similar to your bias tremolos or your old tube amp tremolos. There's a harmonic tremolo, and so basically, right, you got the low and the high frequencies kind of going opposite of each other. And then finally, there is a pattern tremolo,
right,
which has some specific rhythmic patterns associated with it.
Yeah. Not quite as random as some other ones because it locks into a rhythm, but it's different rhythms in different settings.
So do we want to walk through those 3?
Yeah. Let's
We're on the amplitude tremolo to start with.
Let's go with the bread and butter first.
Right.
All right.
So started amplitude, harmonic. And that'd be very similar to what they actually really similar to what they have in the
Monument. Yeah. Which we did an episode on that too, and maybe the card might flash up. Maybe it won't because I'm not the editor.
It'd be a good time for it. All right, so I'm going to go back to sine. I'm going to go back to just amplitude tremolo because I think some of these things that you can do with this pedal are easier to hear there.
Yeah.
I'm going to take this switch here and we're going to switch it over to shape. Now we can adjust whether it's a sine wave, triangle wave, or square wave. We'll walk through those three real quick.
All right. There we go. And we're starting with
Sine wave.
sine. Very square, very choppy in that particular setting.
And so that way, the square wave is a good one to show you another feature here. So if we flip over to the other side, we have tone, symmetry, and X. And I mean, we could show really quick what tone does since we're there.
Yeah.
Tone just changes the tone.
It's tone. All right. It's set where it was, I guess, right?
All right, but the switch, the setting over here that I really like is the symmetry setting. So I'm going to flip the switch into the middle.
Yeah.
Symmetry now is going to. You have, I think the easiest way to think about this is on and off. Because of a square wave. So square wave, you have on, down to off. And then if we go to the sine wave, you have maybe not so drastic of a change. If you go to the triangle wave, it's more up, down, whatever. In the square wave, on and off, right now where it's set, those are equal. You have an equal amount of time on, an equal amount of time off. If you move it to one direction, you're going to reduce how much on time you have. If you move it the other way, you're going to reduce how much off time you have. And I think to the right reduces how much off time, and to the left how much on time. I think. Don't quote me on that. You'll find out in a second.
All right, so I guess I'm just gonna play one chord and just maybe let it ring.
So we definitely went more on,
Right.
more off, and then back to the middle.
It's a great setting. It's, we don't always play in stereo in real life, just down here, but it's so great. And then when you can make it do that.
Should we, I mean, just for fun, we're still in shape. If I go over to like a sine wave, it's going to do kind of the same thing. It's going to make a bigger hump on one side, or it's going to stretch out the initial hump or shrink it up, just to show what that would sound like, I guess.
Not as dramatic as the chop of a square wave. All right, here we go.
So we started on sine wave, kind of ran that so we could see how it moves the wave around a little bit. Then I moved it to triangle wave. So when it goes to the left, it's really
A sawtooth?
like a sawtooth, yeah. And then when we go to the right, it's the other way around. And so one thing we don't always talk about, because a lot of times we're like, here's the pedal, here's the features, figure out how to use it. But, as we were doing this, I was thinking, this is really cool because you can really set this to kind of Do you want to emphasize that tremolo on the beat? Do you want to emphasize it behind the beat, in the middle of the beat? Do you want it to be kind of smooth? Do you want it to be really choppy?
Right.
So we've just been right now on the tremolo, amplitude tremolo, and we've been able to like kind of go from a nice rounded to a pointy to a square, and then
to the left, to the center, to the right.
Yeah,
like
it's really cool.
Before the beat, on the beat, after the beat. Yeah, it's a good analogy.
So then we're running stereo, but right now we've been running the stereo, so both amps are doing exactly the same thing. Volume comes up, both come up. Volume goes down, both go down. If we flip this over to, well, first of all, I'm going to put it on the square wave so we can really hear this. Leave it kind of in the center, equal on and off.
Choppa.
If I switch this over to X and roll this all the way down, that's where we were. As I roll it to the right, it's going to spread the amps out. And I think when we get all the way to the right, they're going to be like, this amp's on, this amp's on, this amp's on, this amp's on. So if you have headphones on, you're going to really hear this bouncing
like
around as we move that around.
All right. It got really wide. It got really ping-pongy.
That's cool. When we went to like just a little on, it was really... Yeah, that's cool. Let me just check. So we did tone, we did symmetry, we did the X knob. We've talked about the type. We've talked about the shape. I want to click this, leave this on type. Click this over to type. I'm going to roll this to that harmonic trem. I think we ought to explore that a little bit more. But instead of trying to run through every single thing again, why don't you just play? Maybe I'll experiment with the shape, then I'll go over experiment with the symmetry, and then experiment with the ping-pongy thing a little bit.
Yep.
So I just need to get it out of the ping-pong. Symmetry, let's make that normal. And then we're going to go over to shape. We'll start with a sine wave.
Yep.
It almost starts to get that like kind of UD vibe, phaser.
Without actually bumping up to univibe. Well, it kind of...
No, we're not there yet.
Okay.
We did that once already. In the middle of one, we
Like, wow, that sounds really chorusy. Oh, because we
hit it in the vibrato. And then, so I'm going back to X. I'm going to turn that all the way down so it's both amps. Symmetry. You go right in the middle. Type. I'm going to go over to the Rhythmic. Now, the Symmetry button on the Rhythmic doesn't change symmetry like it did before, I don't think. I think now it's
it changes the pattern.
The pattern of the rhythms. So let's go through the patterns of the rhythm. Then I'll go back to X, split it between the amps, and go back and go through the patterns of the rhythm again just to show you. You will notice we haven't talked about DIV. That's just subdivision. So if you're using the tap tempo, you can set the subdivisions you want and then tap in quarters or tap in eighths or whatever you want.
All right.
This should be interesting.
Yes, I'm trying to think of what I want to play. I don't even know.
Actually, we'll start it on the first one.
All right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you get lost in that. And so we went through it, both amps, switched it so the amps are ping-ponging, and then flipped it over to square wave, which really kind
Emphasized
of
it, yeah.
emphasized it a little bit. Anything else?
Well, we started with the pedestrian. Can we go back to the pedestrian? I think this has a rate and a depth knob.
Right, which we conveniently overlooked.
Right. We just thought, well, they control the rate and the depth, but
Conveniently overlooked this. Let's run this really quick. Just play with them for a second.
in that same real choppy setting. All right.
But you can see how by pulling the depth down, you could like kind of let it
Really
sit
smooth
under,
it out, yeah.
let it sit underneath. Even with the choppy square wave, rhythmic, the rate knob when you pulled that down, the rhythmic kind of almost changed the feel a lot. So really cool stuff. Things that we didn't talk about. There's 5 other programs. There's Vibe. There's Phaser, Chorus. Thank you. Envelope filter. Surf flanger.
Yes.
Okay.
You said very confidently.
Rotary.
I knew that. I think it's rotary.
Yeah, no flanger.
No flanger. Like I said, it felt wrong.
So, there's those things which we haven't talked about. We haven't talked about the middle switch, which is the preset. You have 3 banks of presets, 4 presets per bank. 3 presets per bank, I think. So you can take, I think it's 3 presets per bank, and then 3 banks. So I think you're taking 9 when we, don't quote me.
Go back to our video.
Yeah, go back. If you hook up MIDI, you're
128
yeah.
per.
And then there's the lo-fi knob, which once we start holding this down and switching some of these things at the bottom and turning the lo-fi knob up, we can bring in some reverb, we can bring in all the other things we said. So, whole bunch of stuff. By deep diving on the tremolo, which probably took us 30 minutes here to do, 5 other programs. I mean, just a world of stuff here. And so we're going to come back, look for a couple weeks after this video comes out for maybe the Leslie setting, and then we're going to come back on the envelope filter setting on this one too for now, for sure. So, more to come on the Walrus M1. I'll tell you what, it's a lot of stuff in a little package.
It is.
And easy to use. Like, easy to... Once you get your head wrapped around it, you're changing parameters without even thinking about it. So.
Right. Because pretty much when you switch through the different modulation, the ideas are the same with the controls.
Mm-hmm.
Depth, rate, X, all that. That's all.
Always take... anything else?
No, I was saying that's all we're going to do with it today.
That's it. Always take a moment just to thank you for watching. Thanks for hitting the subscribe button, clicking the notification bell. Like Pat said in the beginning, anytime you interact with the show, it really helps us out. It's the reason we keep getting cool stuff to bring in. It's the reason we keep doing this, other than the fact that we're having loads of fun doing it. Stop by the website, and all the series are there. If you want to see the other tremolo pedals in the Tremolo series or any of the other series, great place to go. We've got some stuff that we're moving out to make room and finance bringing some new stuff in. Check that out. And I think with that...
Despite moving pedals to buy other pedals, this is PJ on behalf of the Beard reminding no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear. All right, I can't resist to hear what the lo-fi does.
All right, so...
And maybe we might invite David Barber to the party at some point here. Here we go. DJ Beard was frying some bacon.